Laura Mae Culver is our next storyteller. Oh, and some of the prizes include one of her amazing journals that, if you're not careful, will help you reach your dreams and goals. Hello, here we are. We used to work at the school board together. And I'm ad-libbing right now, but we used to sit in her office. She was a social worker at the school, and we'd sit in her office and dream about not being in the school in her office. And we would write down our goals to be doing this. And now we are both not there, and we are living our dreams. So, yeah. If you want a copy of her journal, it's at the back. There is a little sales table, and all proceeds from that are going to the Hummingbird Center for Hope. I'll come to that later. Anyway, let me just keep introducing you, Laura Mae. Thank you. All right. She has so many stories, so it was hard for her to pick just one, but I really think this one is going to resonate with you. I would like to welcome Laura Mae Culver and her story, Conversations with the Universe.
The mic loud enough? Is that loud enough? Okay, great. Talking to the universe should really come with a warning label, especially when the conversation is a one-sided series of pleading questions. Who am I? Where am I? Why am I here? What should I do? If you ask these questions to the universe, you may receive an answer that leads to motherhood. The universe gets really bossy when answering these types of show me the way questions. In my case, I was told to do the thing, that very thing that chained me to a life of heartache and pain. Motherhood is hazardous. Hazardous. A risky ride, pain, heartbreak, fear, and confusion, let alone when one opens to letting the universe show you the way. I started talking to the universe via God when I was a small child. My parents took me to Sunday school, and I prayed every night before bed. So it was a normal, everyday thing to talk to God. And it still is a regular, everyday thing. I didn't receive motherhood as an answer to my purpose. I didn't think about motherhood much at all. After marriage, I was not focused on being a mom. I wanted safety, security, and a family of my own, but I didn't want to be a mom. My calling was socializing and studying and being a wife and service to others through my career. I was fulfilled. The deal I had with God was that I had to have the perfect setup. University degrees times 2, check. Great social life, check. Devoted Christian husband, check. A house in the country, check. Devoted dog as our baby, check. All complete. So the day I got the order was a shock. It was a spring day, I was 32, and I was home from another wonderful day at the office. I parked the car in the usual spot, grabbed my briefcase, and walked slowly toward the house. A strange feeling came across me, and I stopped in my tracks. You forgot something. A voice. You forgot something. I retraced my steps, slowly walking backwards to look in the back seat of the car. There, buckled in the back seat of the car, was a baby. But I didn't have a baby. I shook my head, walked toward the house again, stopped, went back to look, but the feeling was so strong. I had a baby. I was forgetting my baby. And that was it. I knew. It was done. I went into the house, announced to my husband of 7 years we had to get pregnant. I stopped the pill, was pregnant by July, and by the following April, baby Lucas filled the back car seat. I now know that I had to have those answers from the universe to be that bold. They needed to be that bold because I would have kept working. I would have kept working and socializing until it was too late to have any children. Be careful what you ask for. God is bossy. Bringing Lucas home was shocking. I remember saying to my husband the first night with my son, "What were we thinking?" Later, I remember asking God, "Why is momming so hard?" I had followed the order and I had a great life, but my freedom was gone forever. Part of me wanted it to stop, to have my freedom back, to not be so absolutely terrified that if I was responsible for this little being, what did that mean? What if I didn't want it? What if I wasn't any good at it? And then, 2 years later, it happened again. One night, overtaken with the knowing, came to me, and one child isn't enough. You're going to have to do it again. So I made the announcement to my husband. We had to do it again. He was happy at the prospect of trying. And he was incredibly frustrated when all he had to do was wave across the living room at me and I was pregnant again. 2 children, not easy. I was tired. I'm still tired. Yeah. I kept telling myself, it's all okay though. I'm doing God's work. And I have the perfect setup. I have the kids, the house, the dog, the husband. Until I didn't. When my babies were 1 and 4, the fragile foundation that I had been leaning upon fell apart when my husband, he had a calling of his own and followed it right out of the marriage and into the arms of someone else. I found myself alone, raising 2 babies with a person I felt alone raising them with. I felt anger, resentment, terror. I asked God, really, really, this is how it's going to be? Through the shock and trauma, I shut down and I unchose my children. Maybe it was the trauma of the babies and the dog torn from me against my will every other week that made that wall grow and build around my heart. I don't know if that's what it was, but I know that I loved them. But I didn't know how to be present with them. I was okay with the perfect picture, but I wasn't okay with this. I felt like a hollow person, just looking after them en route. I was angry and resentful, and I grasped at just a tiny bit of hope. Just a tiny bit of hope that I would learn to love them again, that things would get better. When my children were 3 and 6, I gathered the little energy I had, packed a tiny bit of hope, that I had, and I traveled to Florida for a vacation. On day 2, my youngest son, Atticus, tripped and fell and fell and cut his head on a drywall corner. And because it was July 4th, the clinics, we went there first, thinking we would be served, but we were turned away because it was a holiday. So we had to go for a long wait at the hospital. And we were treated and sent home with stitches. But the next night, something was terribly wrong. And my son's head was swelling and he had fever, he was swelling with infection. So I insisted we go back to the hospital. And back at that hospital, they had to hold him down to look at the wound, to see what was happening. And my son screamed and cried, "Mummy, please let me up, Mummy, Mummy. I'll be a good boy, Mummy, Mummy. Mummy, please don't hurt me, Mummy." My heart wrenched. I was helpless. My baby was in crisis. The doctor said that we had to be transferred to a specialist hospital by ambulance. Terror. The whirring of the ambulance engine is still loud in my head, competing with the female voice of my son's physician telling me that if his body does not respond, he could die. They reopened his wound, they drained it, and then they sewed him back up again. They put him in a cage so he would not climb out. I had a little bed beside him, watching him once he was asleep. I knew that I had to talk to God again. I did want my children. I'm sitting on the parent bench on the rooftop of the Jacksonville Children's Hospital. It is night. The city lights all around me. I have visions of my 3-year-old inside that cage, finally asleep from his days-long ordeal, swimming in my head. I'm overcome with memories, mom memories, of holding my boys' hands, singing them to sleep, snuggles and I love yous. And I know I have to decide to choose my children again and demand God save my child. Please, God, I want my son. I want my children. I love them. I can't go home without them. Please save my child. God got my order. 3 long days in the cage. After that time, my son got better. Thank God. Talking to the universe should really come with a warning label. You may become a mother. Motherhood is wonderful. A risky ride of laughter, heart swells, and joy. We play, and we are allowed to play when you let the universe show you the way. In my case, I was told to do that thing, the thing that chained me to a life of snuggles, hope, joy, and so much love. Thank you.